phone. This jogged the victim's memory. She remembered that the rapist had used both the phone and the yellow pages. Now, the FBI analysis lifted fingerprints from those items. So, she soon went back to the street corner, and this time she realized that she had to go further down the street. Finally, she found the house where the rapist supposedly went to every day. The detectives questioned the building's owner, and they gave the name of a man who had refurbished one of the apartments. Okay. Now, Detective Landon recognized the name from a previous case. However, he assumed that this man was still in jail because he was convicted of a previous crime. And the detective did find that he was at a local jail, but he was in a work release program, and he went to this apartment pretty often. His outfit and description matched what Nancy said exactly, and his fingerprints ended up matching those on the phone book. Later, 6 of the victims identified him as the rapist, and the man was charged and convicted of rape and sentenced to 150 years in prison. Quite remarkable, right? He's getting just what he deserves. Another one of Nancy's case was in Dade City, Florida, and on the afternoon of February 19th, 1993, this 12-year-old girl by the name of Jennifer Odom, she got off the school bus and vanished. Her stop was just 200 yards from her home, and as you can imagine, hundreds of friends and neighbors and volunteers, they searched for her until her body was found viciously, and that took 6 days. They found her 6 days later. Now, after a series of dead ends, the police called upon Nancy again, and this was 16 months after the murder, and they wanted Nancy to try to identify Jennifer's killer. Well, Nancy believed that Jennifer's killers asked for directions, and then they abducted her. And when Nancy was taken to the site where her body was found, Nancy noted that the girl, Jennifer, was not killed there. She accurately described some of Jennifer's belongings that were found nearby, and she also pointed out that there were more of her belongings in a nearby area that had not been discovered yet. So she was able to describe several of Jennifer's items that were discarded by the killers, including her cousin's clarinet case with the letters LO on them. And these items, they were located 2 years after the murder. Now, she continues to give information about the killer in hopes of solving this case. Now, Nancy believes Jennifer was murdered by 2 men, both muscular build, mechanics who work together, and she believes that one of them may be a smoker and have a bad cough. Now, the police have lifted fingerprints of the killers from the discarded book bag, but they have not connected them to a suspect. The suspected serial killer, Frank Potts, is a possible suspect in Jennifer's case. While this particular case has remained unresolved, convicted rapist and kidnapper Jeffrey Crum has since been named as a person of interest in Jennifer's murder. DNA testing connected Crum to a kidnapping and sexual assault and attempted murder that occurred in January 1992 in a nearby county. In April 2017, he was arrested and charged in that case. What is astounding about this is she still keeps giving clues to this case, and authorities have noted similarities between the 1992 case and Jennifer's murder, Both victims were teenage girls abducted after getting off school buses, taken to a remote field, raped, and left for dead. Now, testing is currently underway on the evidence from Jennifer's case. However, this guy hasn't been charged yet, so we just have to wait and see what happens. Another case of Nancy's, and she has so many, and she's pretty gifted, is when this fella named Sylvester Toney went missing. Both his family and the police were stumped as where he might be. So, to further the investigation, Toney's family decided to call in Nancy, of course. And when she joined the investigation, Nancy told the family that Toney was dead, but his death had not come of violence. She explained that the 78-year-old Toney had gone out for a walk in the forest, and when he kept walking and walking, he became confused and he got lost. And the man continued to wander further and further from his home until he met his death by either falling or laying down to rest. Now, she told police that Toney was actually much further away from where they had been looking. She used her senses to circle on the map where Toney would be found, and the body of Sylvester Toney was found just 150 yards from where Meyer had the vision and said he would be found. So, how amazing is that? This next case, we have gifted psychics all over the world. So, this next case, it takes us to the United Kingdom. And in August of 2002, these 10-year-old gals, Holly Wells and Jessica Chapman, they went missing from a family barbecue in Soham, okay? And desperate for answers, of course, like family members always are, Holly's family contacted a psychic named Dennis Mackenzie. Well, Mackenzie told them that he was really sorry, but both girls are dead, and he told them that he believed they'd been murdered. He went on to describe a woman that had a shrew-like face and had brown hair, and he described a man in his 30s, and they both had, northern accents. All right, well, he also told the family that the girls had been transported in an old red car and wrapped in something like carpet or bubble wrap. He even described the view from the killer's house. Soon, the girls' bodies were found, and a man and a woman matching Mackenzie's descriptions were arrested. Now, Ian Huntley claimed the girls had died at his home by accident, and this is the man that they captured, Ian Huntley. The view from Huntley's home matched Mackenzie's description. He was eventually found guilty of the murder, and his girlfriend, Maxine Carr, was convicted of conspiring to prevent the course of justice, Dennis's expertise had continually been drawn on to help solve many horrific crimes, including the case of the BT killer, also known as Dennis Rader. He was a serial killer who bound, tortured, and killed women in Wichita, Kansas, and evaded the police for over 30 years. And I do remember when Dennis Rader was caught, I actually watched his case, his trial, on Court TV, and let me tell you, he just described it as matter-of-factly, no remorse, and that was kind of spooky. This next case takes us to a psychic out of Brooklyn, New York, and that is Rosemarie Kerr. Now, she, of course, is in a select group of psychics, the few that have actually testified to psychic evidence in a court of law. She got involved with the missing person case of 4-year-old Andre Diagle. After the family contacted her for clues, okay? Now, Rosemarie, from 2,000 miles away, she described two men that she felt had killed Andre. She channeled the victim, feeling pain in the head area. Kerr also told the grieving family where the body of the murdered man would be found. Following the psychic's directions, Andre's brother drove to the location Kerr identified. On his way there, he saw Andre's truck being driven by the men Kerr earlier described. Oh, spooky. And after a short police chase, the men were arrested. Soon after, they both confessed to the killing of Andre with hammer blows to the head and burying the man's body where Kerr sent the brother to look. During the murder trial, Rosemarie was called to the stand as a witness. She recounted her psychic visions that were entered into evidence against the men. Her psychic testimony ultimately contributed to the conviction of both perpetrators. Sadly, though, I must say, Rosemarie Kerr passed away in March of 2015. Now, this next case takes us to Florida, to psychic Gail St. John. Now, a landmark event in Gail's psychic career happened in Florida while searching for a missing little girl named Kaylee Anthony. Now, that was a very high-profile case at the time, and I'm sure you all have heard about the missing little Kaylee Anthony case, and she was eventually found murdered, and her mother was a suspect, jailed for a while, and I do believe her mother is out of prison right now. She didn't stay there too long. Now, Gail St. John, she brought her crew of searchers known as the Body Hunters to an area that she felt the girl would be found, because at this time, Kaylee was missing. They didn't know where she was. Now, unfortunately, the landowner would not grant permission for the search on his property, okay? So there was months of negotiations with the police and with the landowner, and they were eventually granted access. Now, on the subsequent police search, the body of young Kaylee Anthony was recovered from the marshy area that Gail identified. Gail has appeared on several popular paranormal detective shows, and she's been interviewed by news icons Geraldo and Larry King. Gail has been sharing her gift for over 35 years, giving personal readings and helping local police as a licensed search and rescue worker. And with that, we will be back after this short break with more Ghost Talk Radio. You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting.